Hey guys, it's Demi from Demi's Divine Designs, and today we're going to be making the perfect bag for spooky season. It is the best way to go trick-or-treating, because then you get to see all your little goodies being piled up in the bag. Today we're making a clear printed vinyl trick-or-treat bag, and I think this is probably one of the cutest ways that you can make trick-or-treat bags for any little kiddo in your life. I just have to show it to you, it's adorable. So here is the first one that I made. It is Haunted Mansion theme because I have a Disney problem. It's fine. Anyhow, the top is a nice vinyl. Really good. Very nice. Bottom, clear printed vinyl. And then the inside, we do have it lined with just basic cotton fabric. And we're using webbing for the handles. This comes together so quickly. I actually made 3 of them yesterday. So I have this one. I have a cute little hocus pocus one. This one is a little taller because this base vinyl was taller. Then I had this one, which is, oh my god, it is so freaking cute. And this one, you just use regular clear vinyl. This one didn't have a pattern with it and still is adorable. Cute as heck. Love it. So we are going to get right into it and go over materials, cuts, and go from there. Since this is kind of like my own pattern, I'm kind of winging. I will be giving measurements throughout the video. And let's get started. For this bag, we don't need much in material. We really just need clear vinyl. I like to just get 1 yard or 1 roll, whatever the roll comes with. As long as it is at least 12 inches wide, you're good to go. So I got 1 of these. I got this from, I believe it was Wonderground Fabrics. I'm like 90% sure that's where this came from. Your top accent fabric, you can use vinyl. Today I'm going to be using this cork that I got from Sally Tomato. Very pretty. Anything that can just have a raw edge usually and is very durable is what I like to do for the top for that. And then some lining fabric. For this, I would suggest maybe a fat quarter. That should be plenty for the material for this one. And then for the handles, we're going to be using webbing. I got this 1-inch webbing from Amazon. I got this like 2-3 years ago when I was making a ton of trick-or-treat bags. So just any type of webbing. I did also make this with 1.5-inch webbing and it worked out very well too. So as long as it's a webbing that you like using, just go ahead and use it. So these are all the materials that you're going to need. The cuts of fabric that we're going to need are going to be pretty simple to do with this pattern. Since everything is rectangles, it's going to cut up really quick, which is great for prep time. Starting with our exterior top, I have 2 cuts at 6 inches by 12.5 inches across. For the lining, I have 2 cuts as well, 7 inches by 12.5 inches. For our clear printed vinyl, or if you use clear vinyl, whatever your bottom fabric is going to be, you're going to want that to be 11.5 inches tall, which is pretty much the size of most vinyls once you trim it to make it straight. So for this one, I'm doing 11.5 inches tall by 12.5 inches long. So all these should all be 12.5 inches long, all 6 of these, and then they each just have different tall measurements. And then we're also going to need our 2 handles. I like to have my handles at 20 inches. You can adjust this based on how you like the handles to look. If you like them longer, make them longer. You like them shorter, make them shorter. You don't like how big this top section is, cut it down. A good rule of thumb that I like to do with how we're going to construct this is whatever your exterior is, make your lining 1 inch wider. So if your top for this one is going to be 6 inches, this has to be 7. If this is going to be 4 inches, make this 5 inches. Just work from there. And then vinyl, however long you want that bottom piece to be, go for it. If you have a huge vinyl roll, make it big. You do what makes you happy. So on to other materials that we're going to need for this bag. Other materials that you're going to need are going to be a nice assortment of rulers. I like to use my 24-inch ruler a lot for straightening up edges. Always good to have a 3x9 ruler, a 2.5 by, 6.5, and then a nice little ruler. These are just really good things to keep by you just in case you need them. Always good to have. Pair of scissors. I'm going to be using some double-sided tape, a lot of clips. Get yourself a healthy stash of clips or pins. Actually, no, don't do pins. You don't want to pin through vinyl or cork, no pins, just clips. My tag, I get my tags from Heartwood and Hide. Love Jade. She does fantastic work. She's fun to work with. Definitely her tags, fantastic. And a lighter, good to melt your threads to help seal them off and the end. Going on with thread, I have this Text 45 weight from Wizardry Stitchery. I love this thread. It is definitely one of my babies, and it works really well in my machine. And since I do have an industrial machine, I can use it in my bobbin without having any issues. So that's what I'm doing there. Don't run away, stay over there. Then a marking utensil. I like to use chalk because it comes off easily. You can use a water erasable, air erasable, just anything. The marks that we're going to make aren't going to be seen anyway, but I like to have, I like my chalk. And then we have a surprise tool that we're going to need to make our lives a lot easier when turning this bag right side out. And our surprise tool that we're going to be using to help turn this bag right side out is a handy dandy hair dryer. Either a hair dryer, a heat gun, anything that we're going to use to warm up our clear vinyl to make it more pliable so we can turn it and poke out those edges nicely is going to save you some nails, going to save you some exertion. Handy dandy hair dryer. All right, now let's hop into building the bag. This is going to be a quick one, so it shouldn't take that long. With this bag, we're going to start by building the top first before we add on the bottom. So what you're going to need is one of your exterior cuts, one of your lining cuts, and one of your handles, as well as a ruler, marking utensil, and some clips. So what you're going to do right now is move your lining to the side. We're going to grab that in a second. Take your exterior and your ruler, and now I like to have my handles more towards the center, so I have like more of an anchor point. So I like to have my handle positioned 3 inches in from the side. So I'm going to take my ruler, right side of the exterior fabric facing up, and just do a little mark 3 inches from the side in. Little boom, like that. You probably can barely see that, but there's a mark there, I promise. And we're going to do the same on the other side, lining it up 3 inches from the edge. Little mark, like so. Oh, actually you can see it pretty good. Yeah, cool. Mark. Then I'm going to take my webbing, and I've had some issues in the past where my webbing has kind of like frayed out of its seam. So I like to make sure that I have a significant amount of overhang. If you're comfortable taking the risk and doing it shorter, do it shorter. Doesn't matter for me. I also like to make sure when I cut my webbing that I take a lighter and just melt this edge to kind of help prevent fraying, but that only works if you're using a nylon webbing. If you're using any type of cotton, all that's going to do is just fire, and even though fire's pretty, fire bad. No fire, no fire. So take your edge of your webbing, and I like to measure in 2 inches. You can kind of see I have a mark there. So just line it up with your edge and pow, 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 pow. Pretty. Same on the other side. Roll that around. Find your 2 inches and wha-pow, wha-pow, wha-pow. Like that. Then what we're going to do is we are going to take our clips and we're going to clip our handles, but with all these markings. We're going to take it with our handle going down. We don't want it going this way. We want it going this way. So like if this is the top, say you had a directional fabric. You want the top of your directional fabric to be up here, and this little 2-inch tail is going to be sticking out of the fabric. And I'm going to line that. My 3-inch mark is here. I'm going to line my 2-inch mark right along the top raw edge, and the edge of my webbing is going to line up right with that 3-inch mark, and I'm going to clip that into place. Like to just do 1 clip per side. Keeping it straight. Don't let it go. Bam. We want straight. Same on this side. Clip. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our webbing is straight, and we are just going to bend that up and do the same thing here, lining our edge of our webbing up with that 3-inch line that we did here, and making sure that the edge of my top fabric is in line with our 2-inch mark on our webbing. And we are going to clip that into place as well. Now, what you can do right here is you can take this over to the sewing machine and base stitch these into place. I like to live dangerously, so I'm not going to do that. I am just going to grab my lining fabric and I'm going to flip this wrong sides down, so it's going to like sandwich this webbing inside, and I'm going to line this up with the top edge of my exterior fabric, clipping into place. Then, once you have this clipped to your heart's content, we are going to head over to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch along this edge at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once we have this top seam stitch, what we're going to do is we are going to flip everything wrong sides together, pulling the handle. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to make sure that we roll our lining to the back and like creating a nice crisp seam. If you need to, you can use clips to hold this into place because we're going to be top stitching this next. So just flatten that seam out. Since I'm using this cork, it is going to be a lot easier for me than when I was using like my thicker pattern finals. So just keep that in mind. Roll that out. You don't have to do perfect if you want to. It's your bag. It's up to you. If you like to have a little bit of that lining peeping through, go ahead. If you don't like the lining peeping through, roll it back. It's up to you. Okay. Once you have that clipped how you would like, we're going to head over to the sewing machine and we're just going to top stitch right across this top edge. I like to do 2 rows of top stitching just to help secure these handles into place. I like to do one at 1/8 of an inch going right along the edge, and then another one 1/4 of an inch from an edge or 1/8 of an inch from your other stitch. It'll probably make more sense when you see it, but I'm just going to do 2 rows right next to each other, helping to hold the lining down and to help keep these handles in place nice and secure. Once you have those top 2 stitches done, you're going to see that your handle is fully enclosed, and we're just going to repeat this process for the second side. So move this to the side and grab your extra exterior and your lining and the other handle. And we're just going to repeat the same process. So grab your exterior and we are going to do the same markings. So we're going to mark 3 inches from the side going inwards, little marky mark. Same on the other side, 3 inches in from the side, line that up, marky mark. Then we're going to do the same marks on the handles, going 2 inches in from the edge, little swoopy swoop. Other side as well, 2 inches in, and line. That looks good, and mark. Then we are going to line it up again, making sure that our 3-inch mark lines up with the outside of our webbing, and our 2-inch mark lines up with the top edge of our exterior, and clip that into place. Then once we have that clipped into place, we're going to make sure our webbing is straight as we pull that up to line up the other side, lining up our 3-inch line with the side of our webbing and our 2-inch line with the top of our exterior, and then we are going to clip that into place just like we did the other side. Then once we have that clipped, you are more than welcome to take this over to the sewing machine and base stitch these in place if you would like. I like to live dangerously and let it rock, so we're just going to move on to attaching the lining. Then we're going to grab our lining and put that right sides together, and we are going to clip along the top edge, making sure everything lines up and securing those handles inside like a sandwich. Once we have that clipped how we would like, we are going to take this over to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch along that clipped edge at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, securing the handles in and attaching the exterior to the lining. Once you have that seam stitched, what we're going to do is we're going to repeat the same process where we're going to flip this open and flatten out this seam, making sure that we have all of the lining pushed to the back if that's how you want it, all of the exterior folded on the front. We're just trying to make this seam flat so we can top stitch it, basically. And then we're going to clip that into place once we have it nice and flat. You don't have to clip it. I just think it helps keep everything straight. Perfect. Once you have that ready to go, we're going to head back over to the sewing machine and we are going to top stitch along the folded edge at both an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, just to provide some extra structure to hold these handles into place so when they tug on it, they don't move. Now that we have the tops stitched, the handles holding in place, we can move on to doing the bottom. But before we do that, if you would like to do any customization on this top section, this would be the time to do it. So if you would like to embroider a name on here, put your tag up in the top section, you're going to want to do it now before we attach the bottom on, because then that's going to enclose the lining and you're not going to be able to get in there to hide all of your seams and all of your stitching really well. So just keep that in mind. Any tags, any embroidery, do it now before we move on to attaching the bottom. I like to put my tag on the bottom, so I'm not doing this. All right, so now we're going to grab our clear vinyl and we are going to attach that onto just the exterior. When grabbing your exterior vinyl, you want to keep in mind directional print. Since my print is not a directional, it's not that big of a deal. But if it is, you want to make sure that your top direction is here and making sure, of course, that you have it the correct way. Say your directional print is this way. You want to make sure that you're attaching the top part of your direction to the bottom part of the exterior. So in this case, there's the bottom up at the top. You're going to take your exterior and say your directional print is here, your top print is up here. When you flip, you want to make sure that your top print is in line with your bottom. So again, top up here, direction down here. You can tell which side is the right or wrong side of a printed vinyl because the top, the back part of it kind of looks like it's ghosty, sort of. So top part of your clear vinyl is supposed to be on the bottom part of the top exterior. I don't know if this sounds really confusing. If it does, I'm so sorry. But once you have that lined up, what we're going to do is we're going to clip along this top edge of our clear vinyl to secure everything, and we're just clipping the exterior. Make sure your lining is out of the way. Once you have the top clipped, what we're going to do is we're going to bring this over to the seam allowance and stitch along this top clipped edge at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, only stitching to the top, not the lining. Make sure that is out of your way, and again, we're going to cross this clipped edge at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, perfect. Once we have this top stitched together, only having the clear vinyl stitched to the top exterior, what we're going to do now is flip this entire thing over and we're going to pull the clear vinyl down, folding this seam up. Try to get it as flat as you can. I'm actually going to turn this sideways so you can see the whole thing I'm doing. So we're going to go like this. I'm going to take my 1/2 inch double-sided tape and I'm going to just run this right along kind of the crease, but not entirely the crease. Just enough to where I fold this down, it's going to catch that. It's going to catch this. The seam. That's the word I was looking for. Ha ha ha. And now this double-sided tape I can stitch through. My needle is fine with it. It gets a little gunky, but it doesn't cause any issues. That's why I'm okay with doing this. Then I'm going to take a 1/4 inch double-sided tape and I'm going to run that right along the raw edge of the lining material so that then it's just going to be able to hold the fold that I'm going to do better. We're going to peel this double-sided tape off down here and smoosh this exterior down, holding it in place. You could do another tape here if you want to hold the clear vinyl down, but I don't think it's necessary. Then you're going to peel this off. I kind of did it already and then remembered I didn't need to do that, so ignore. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold this down to kind of meet up with our stitch here. and then we're going to just press everything down together. So I like to kind of just take this, lay it flat, find where my fold is, which is going to be like right here. I'm using my finger to kind of feel that seam, and then just pinch and bend. Just be careful because double-sided tape loves clear vinyl. Loves it. So I see my little pinchy mark. Bend that. See how that looks? I actually think it needs to go back more. I'm going to pull that a little more. Now, if there's an easier way to do this, please tell me. So like that. I'm going to do the other side as well. If there's like a trick or something to make this lay better, I'm all for it. Because sometimes me and the tape be fighting. See, and now that's too short. There we go. All right, and then once you get it where it covers up your seam, just lay your fabric out and push it on the double-sided tape that is under. And I like to give it like a nice tug to make sure that I'm getting like all the way down there. You could put another thing of double-sided tape here along this seam, but I don't like doing that because then it's my needle sewing directly onto that, and I don't like to sew. Once we get this how we would like it, let me see. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to bring this over to the sewing machine, and I'm actually going to stitch it this way with the lining up, and I'm going to tack this down. I'm going to do one stitch right along this, just tacking it down, trying to make sure everything stays straight. All right, perfect. Once you have that done, that will have top stitched this seam, having the clear vinyl attached to the top, and on the back, it stitched our lining down so that then it hides the raw edge of the exterior and hides the edge of the clear vinyl. So all of this looks good. Now, if you attached your logo, your label up here, you did any personalization up here, you can skip the next thing that I'm going to do, which is going to be adding my tag onto the front of this. So how I do this, again, this is all personal preference. There's no right or wrong place for you to put your tag. I just liked how mine looked down on the clear vinyl versus how it looked up here. So that's what I'm going to do. So for this, I am just going to mark my center. For this, I'm going to fold it in half. And I'm just going to crease that clear vinyl, just a little crease, so I can clearly see, hey, there's my center. Then I'm going to take my small ruler, and I'm going to measure down about 1/2 inch. And I'm going to take my tag, and I'm going to center that on as well. And now you could do some double-sided tape here if you would like. I just don't particularly like how the double-sided tape looks from the back. So I'm just going to hold for dear life and hope it doesn't move as I go to the sewing machine and stitch that into place. All right, perfect. Once that is all set, we have our one side of the bag situated. So we can move this to the side and we can work on the other part. So we're just going to repeat the process that we did for the front for the back side. You're going to take your exterior top sandwichy looking thing, and we are going to lay this where just the exterior top is showing. Push the lining out of the way. Then we're going to take our clear vinyl. Remember, if you have a direction print, you're going to want that to line up with the edge of your top panel. So say this was a direction print. Your bottom print is here, your top is here, hence the handles. For your clear vinyl, you're going to want the top of your print here. And when we flip, we're kind of just going to zoop. Again, your top print should be up here. And we're going to line this onto the bottom of our top exterior piece. lining that right along the edge, and then just clip this into place. All right, and then once you are happy with your clipped edge, we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch right along this edge here at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once we have this stitched into place, we're going to repeat the process that we did for the front onto the back, where we're going to take our vinyl and just pull that up, making a swoop all the way up. Push this seam down, take your bigger double-sided tape, line this along the edge. Now, this step technically is not necessary. It's just very helpful. I like having that extra security to hold everything down. If you don't need it, don't do it. I like to kind of just nuzzle that up in that crease. Push. And then if it doesn't actually nuzzle in the crease, fight with it. But I can't. So we're going to accept defeat there. I'm going to turn this just so it's easier to work with. Take this, line that edge. Then we're going to peel the double-sided tape up off this bottom, using it to hold down what we can from the seam. If you got your tape correct, it's going to lay down a lot easier than mine is. Then we're going to peel the tape off of the top. And you would think nails would make this easier. It doesn't. There we go. And then we're going to fold this, fold the lining up to be in line with our seam. Holy, I did that on the first. You guys saw that. I just went phew and it was perfect. That will never happen again. Okay. Same thing. Give it a nice tug. Oh my God, I'm so proud of that. Y'all see how quick that was, like, phew, phew. Anywho, okay, I am so sorry. That was a once in a lifetime moment. Once you have your lining fabric covering your raw edges of your seam, we're good to take this to the sewing machine, stitching right along here. I just run my presser foot right along this edge, stitching this into place. All right, and now that that is all stitched on, we have a completed back as well. We can now move on to the final construction of the bag. Constructing this is fairly simple. It's basically a big box without the top closure is the easiest way to put this one. So with this, it can be very simple, straightforward, where you just stitch the seams, do your box corners, call it a day. Or you can take it a step forward, and if you don't like the look of the clear vinyl seams or these seams being raw, you can bind them. I wouldn't suggest trying to open them and stitch. I tried that on one of mine and it did not go very well. So don't do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our back panel and our front panel and we're going to lay these right sides together, keeping the exteriors together. And what we're going to do is we're going to line up all the edges and clip around the side, the bottom, and up the other side. All right, perfect. Once you have these three sides clipped, what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the seam sewing machine and we are going to stitch this at a 3/8 seam allowance. I like that seam allowance for this project. So that's what we're sticking with. And again, we're just going the sides that we have clipped. We are not stitching this top. So just down this side, across this side, up this side. Pa-pow. All right, perfect. Once you have that done, you have stitched along these three edges. What we're going to do now is we are going to mark out the two corners that we're going to cut off and we're going to use for our box corners. So going from the stitch line, I like to go 2.5 inches in. So I line my 2.5 mark with that and line my 2.5 mark here, which goes right along my seam. So when you're looking at it here, the stitches go right along the 2.5, right along the 2.5. And that's where I'm gonna mark out my box corner. So we're gonna go like that, and then keeping everything straight, like that. And we're gonna do the same on the other side, where we're gonna do it on this side. 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. All right. And then from here, we are just going to cut these boxes out. Little scissors, snippy, a snippy, a snippy. Like so. Same on this edge. Snip. And snip. Once we have these edges cut, what I like to do at this point is I like to trim down the seam allowance. One, because it helps clean up my edges, and two, it looks nicer. So I'm gonna grab my little cutting mat. Just gonna lay this on the mat. I'm gonna cut these seams in half. So I'm just kind of gonna line it between my 1/8 inch mark and my 1/4 inch mark. It does not have to be perfect. This is distinctly just because I think the seam does look a little bulky this way. And we're just gonna take a rotary cutter and zoom right across here. Just go zoom. Like that. And see, I just think that looks much better than that chaos. And I'm going to do this also for the bottom. So same here, between the 1/8 and a 1/4. And zoom. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It is just because I don't like how it looks that thick. This does nothing for the back. This would also be the time if you are going to bind your seams, you would do it here. You do it now before moving forward. I am not a fan of binding and will avoid it at all costs because I don't like it. That cut through. Okay, done. Now that we have those seams trimmed down, I'm going to head back over to the sewing machine and I'm just going to backstitch along these seams here, just providing a little more structure. I'm not going to show you guys that part, just know I'm backstitching here, 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 and here. Okay, now that I have this backstitched along here, 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 kind of just providing these seams a little more support, what we're going to do now is box this corner. We're just going to kind of like smush those two together. So I am going to grab clippy clips. Always need those. Just a few. I'm going to stick my hand in the bag. And I'm going to start on the one corner. I kind of just like to stick my finger into those sides and pull while pushing down on the center. I'm going to nest these seams together. Kind of just whatever way they want to lay. There is no rhyme or reason. If you kept your seams long, you could open that seam, which does look nice. It is cute. I just not doing that right now. And I like to kind of just smush it on my table just to help keep this like straight-ish. Make sure my seam lines up really nice. And clip. Like so. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side where I'm going to pinch nest the seam. Now with this, I do want to have the bottom seam nesting the same way. So down here, I have it folding towards the left. I'm also going to have this top one go to the left, so I'm going to make sure the side one goes to the right. I don't think there's like an actual reason for that. I just think it looks nicer. So, beep. Pew. Um, and clip. All right, perfect. Once you have both of these corners clipped into place, we're going to head over to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch along both sides at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, just like we've been doing the whole bag. Okay, perfect. Now that we have both of the box corner seams stitched, we're going to trim this down like we did the other seams. So grab your cutting mat and a rotary cutter and a ruler. That's important. Then we're going to cut these down the same way that we did the other one, where we're kind of going in between an 1/8 of an inch and a 1/4 of an inch, just kind of trimming the seam in half. This step, as usual, not necessary. It's just, I think it looks better. You can also bind this seam if you would like. Same on the other side. And now once that is set, the bag is technically done. Now we just get to turn it right side out and we get to use the hairdryer. All right, now that we get to turn the bag right side out, hairdryer is going to be your best friend here. If you are going to try to do this without a hairdryer, it's going to take a while. It's going to hurt your hands. The hairdryer is going to make the vinyl more pliable and easier to flip right side out. So heat it up. You don't want to melt it, but you just want to get it squishy, like smoosh, smoosh. Because this, you can't really smoosh. It's hard. Once we get it pliable, it's going to smoosh. So heat her up. See, now it's smooshy. And now you can turn it right side out. But you got to go quick before it hardens back up. Poke out those corners nice. And then we are good. And it's perfect timing because this is starting to harden back up again. So woohoo! All right, and then our trick-or-treat bag is complete. This bag comes together very quickly, and it isn't that difficult to make. There's not a lot of skills that you need, but working with clear vinyl can be difficult depending on the type of foot that you have. If your foot gets stuck to this vinyl material, like it gets sticky, there are ways that you can fix it where you can either use a Teflon foot. I currently don't have one for this machine. I don't believe there's one that's like straight from the manufacturer for this machine. So you have the option to put like tape down on the bottom, which does help. I've had some luck with that. Or you could take tissue paper and put it on top of the vinyl and on the bottom so it like glides through easier. Then you just have to tear the tissue paper out of your seams. All those easy fixes to getting vinyl to behave. With this bag, you can go through and bind the edges if that is a look that you would like. I kind of like how clear it is all the way around. So that's why I'm not binding my edges. But I think this was a really quick project. It is adorable and they come together so fast. It is a good way to use like scraps of vinyl, scraps of cork, some cotton scraps that you have, some strap scraps, and these can be so pretty. You can even take this a step further by getting this top section and you could like embroider a child's name on it or trick or treat or like some spooky little vibe or something. Anything on here would be so cute. And then just construct it together like we did for this one. It goes great. and you don't have to just use pattern vinyl. You can use clear vinyl like I did on this one, where it is completely clear. There's no pattern, there's no image, it's just clear, perfect for the treats. And I am addicted to making these. I don't have kids myself, but I like candy, I like trick-or-treating, and I have a few friends who have kids, so I might be like, here, bag, take it. I also might put some of these up on my Etsy shop, so keep your eyes peeled. Or if you're interested, just message me, I can do that too. So I have this one that we made today, that was really cute. We got this one. Oh wait, that's backwards. Haha. This one, poison apple. I got this adorable Hocus Pocus one. See, Hocus Pocus. And you can change up the sizes so that then it works for what you're doing. If you need it like taller, add more length on it. If you need it skinnier, cut in the measurements. It's a bag, it's cute, it's whatever. And then this is the first one that I made, and it's Haunted Mansion. It's adorable. This really makes me wish that I could go trick-or-treating again and just get all the free candy, all the free stuff, mainly the free candy. I got a candy problem, guys. It's bad. And so these are adorable. They're really quick. I hope you guys liked making them because I sure do. I am probably going to make more. I have a lot of clear vinyl that I can easily bang a lot of these out with. So thank you guys so much. If you have any questions or would like to see something in particular, please let me know in the comments. Even just say hi in the comments. It's nice. I like talking to you guys. I like seeing how everybody's doing. And thank you so much. I hope you have a nice day. Bye!